What's up, guys? It's been a long while. I haven't really been making videos for, phew, I guess, 2 years now almost, because I haven't really been getting anything new in, and I haven't really felt like messing around with old Japanese PC systems. But recently there's been a development, so I thought might as well dust off the old FM towns and do a little kind of a experimental mod on it. So the story behind this little project that I'm about to embark on is that, well, the FM Towns Marty is kind of a weird revision of the Marty hardware. It's a consoleized version of the town's computers, and kind of in bearing with that, it only has composite and S-video output. If we look at the back of the machine here, so this is really designed to be hooked up to just a regular consumer television. Now that would be fine. Actually, that's not fine, because the S-video output is actually like, if I remember correctly, it's actually interlaced, so you don't get 240p RGB output with this that you can get out of most, like 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, etc. consoles, which looks really good, and you get the nice scan lines and everything. This is gonna be interlaced, so it's gonna look kind of like funny, and it's not how it's supposed to look. Never mind that. So far as I know, there are no mods that can fix that, at least not yet. Who knows in the future? I mean, these are so rare. I don't think people would be interested in doing something like that. Anywho, so the problem with this in my setup is that it's got an S-video out, so I have to hook it up to my television over here. And the problem with that is that I have only two voltage converters, one going to my little computer setup over there, and another one to my arcade thing, but my TV is over here. So if I were to use this, I would have to have a third, or I would have to like carry the voltage converter, like unhook it and carry it around over here, and that's a pain in the ass. I don't want to do that. I want this to be just like ready to go. So the opportunity presented itself for a couple of months ago. I think it was on Facebook, on one of these like Japanese computer forums. There was this guy who had created a kind of a prototype, or this is a replacement board for the power supply in this thing. Now the idea is that if you have like, actually, I don't remember why he did it. So basically, this is a multi-voltage replacement. Like, so you take some components off of the power supply that is in here. You take, for example, the this is the fuse, and kind of where the mains connect to it, and where the connector that goes out to the actual providing the voltages to the various parts of the Marty. But then you put in here some modern voltage converter parts, and like an AC to DC converter. So, and then you'll have a multi-voltage modern power supply there, and you don't have to worry about it failing at some point. I'm not actually sure whether or not power supply failure is an issue with the Martys. I know it is definitely an issue with the computer, the tower revisions of the Martys. In fact, my tower over there is kind of dead, and I do know that there is someone looking to make a replacement power supply board, something akin to this, with the Pico PSU that you can use, that exists for the X68000, and like kind of do the same thing for the tower. So I'm gonna follow that project, but this is done already. So this guy, he made these like a couple of batches of like this prototype. Well, I mean, it's done basically, but he wanted to test it, so I offered to take it for free, just pay shipping, and then I would supply my own parts that go into this. It's a couple of things. I have them right here, and then test out to see what everything like works as it's supposed to. Now that was months ago where I like kind of like volunteered for this, and various things have caused this to be like very delayed. The first one he sent me, apparently there was some trouble with the posts. With the package. I mean, he didn't write the address on it, and so that kind of got lost, and then he sent me another one. It took a while to get here, and then I had to order these parts, and apparently one of these parts, one of the three things that go in here, there is some sort of a strange like import regulation with that. So it's made by an American company. I think they're called CUI, and apparently they only export those from the US to Europe to like companies. So you have to have a valid CVR number in order to be able to get one of these parts. And so I had just ordered all this from Mauser, and then suddenly they contacted me and say, hey, were you aware that we can't just give you this as a private person? You have to have a CVR number. You have to actually be a company in order to be able to get this. And then I had to somehow get a hold of a CVR number. Fortunately, I had access to one, so I could get it. And then there was another trouble with these. There are these three 470 microfarad capacitors. And even though I have a huge bag of capacitors, somehow the 470s, I didn't have any of those. So I had to order those. And so I bought some really high quality Nishikans, and once again I didn't read the page properly. I failed to notice that for some reason those were on back order and would be, I mean, the estimated delivery date for those was like January next year, and so I waited a couple of that delayed. So this delayed everything by like a couple of months. Now everything's here. I am actually waiting for one other thing that I need. I bought a new what's it called? A new soldering iron. Just a much more convenient one than the one I have right now to like get this project started. But yeah, so once I'm done with this, I will have. I will be able to just plug in a standard figure 8 cable in here and stick it into the wall here in my apartment, 220 volts in, and the idea is this will just work, and I won't have to like worry about messing around with any like step down converters or anything like that. So that will be great. So yeah, that's the big project that I need to get started on. And then in the future, some other videos maybe. I will definitely have to fix that Town's tower here that has died. This Town's all-in-one unit, that's also on the fritz for some reason. The screen doesn't turn on sometimes, and like I've been putting out for the longest time doing anything about that. And then there is the There's of course my arcade board machine, which I've been meaning to buy like a cap kit for its CRT and the power supply for the longest time. I don't know if they've been serviced already, but I have noticed that like when I turn it on, it takes a very long time for the screen to like reach a proper brightness, and that might be because the capacitors are like have gotten a little bit old and tired, and so replacing that might fix it. Anyway, so for this video we're gonna focus on this. So I'm gonna wait for the soldering iron to arrive, and then I'll solder these in and talk a little bit about what those parts are. I don't know if the guy who made this is actually planning on like selling these on forums or on Facebook or whatever, somehow make these available to the community. I'm not sure about that. Maybe he's waiting for like feedback from the people who he sent this to test it, or maybe he's yeah, I don't know. But if he is like the fact that one of these requires you to have to be a company in order to be able to import that part, that might make it like non-viable for Europeans. So maybe he should look into like perhaps finding another replacement for that or something. I'm going to like contact him and like discuss that with him. But yeah, until then I just want to like get the parts in and just make sure that everything works. Yeah, and that's it. What's up everyone? So here is the FM Towns, and we lift up the lid. We have the power supply that we are going to attempt to change or modernize right here. And right here we have the modern replacement board. So you can see it's roughly the same dimensions. It's a little bit bigger, but it does fit nicely right here. So we are going to need some parts from this transplanted over to this, so you can't just take this off and drop this in just like that. So as you can see, there are some this portion here, which is the where the mains are connected to the machine. This will have to be soldered off. Now I see that there's actually no holes here for accommodating the heat shield, so we're not going to need that, just the just this part itself. So I'm going to have to take off these tabs and desolder it, and yeah, so that might be a little bit complicated. And we also need right here the switch, this thing here, for turning it on and off. And one other thing that we would have needed is the fuse. Now I was expecting this fuse to be one of those holders where you can just put one in and take it out easily, but that is not the type of fuse that I have here. This is soldered in, and I can't use this because this is a 125 volt fuse. Since I'm going to be using about 220 volts, I'm going to need another fuse, which I have bought, but that one is designed to be dropped into like a kind of a holder. So I'm gonna have to get a hold of that. And lastly, I'm gonna need to desolder this little connector here and put it here so that it can be connected to the machine. Now those are the only parts I'm gonna need from this, and then this thing is kind of useless. I'm gonna keep it around just for I don't know, for posterity. And the remaining parts are just 3 capacitors, and these 3 devices. One of them is a AC to DC converter, I think it's this one, and the other 2 are voltage converters. yeah, and this should provide the voltages that we're going to need, which is a 5 volt, a 9 volt, and a minus 9 volt. So I'm gonna have to find a place that sells these. Hopefully I can find one here in town, and then I'm going to put these in. So here we have the completed board. So as you can see, I removed some components. The cable was moved over, the power button, and the power cord connector. And finally, according to the instructions, or how I understood them, I was supposed to remove the some sort of a fuse holder from here and move that over. But then I looked at this, and there's no fuse holder here. The fuse is actually a part of the power supply, and this fuse is 3 amps, but for this I was supposed to move over to a 2 amp fuse now, and this is also 120 volt, so I needed a 220. I did ask my dad, who is an electro technician, and he said the voltage doesn't really matter, the amperage does. So I just bought these, like kind of a fancy fuse holder, and they do sort of fit, not exactly the right size, but if you bend one of the legs a little bit, I managed to get it in there. So now I have the fuse in there. So yeah, this took a while to get as well. Now, according to the instructions, I'm supposed to move this metal thingy over as well, but I'm not going to do that for several reasons. First of all, as you can see, this metal is connected to some regulators here, and the purpose of it is to be a heat sink, because from what I understand, the way these old voltage regulators they work is that you feed them a high voltage, and they drop that down to the desired voltage, and anything above that is just turned into heat. So you need a heat sink of some sort to cool them down. Not exactly sure if this is how they work, but in all components you usually have these components usually connected to a heatsink of some sort. Now, I would move them over if it wasn't for the fact that there are these plastic studs that are supposed to like go in here and one here in the PCB, just to secure this better in place. So the two up here would go into this to secure the middle bracket better to this, and the other one would secure it to the PCB. Now, the problem is that the designer of this board didn't include one of the holes. You see here, there's supposed to be a hole for that plastic stud, and it's not here. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it here. I mean, what's the point? I'm gonna keep this as like a backup anyway, and like unscrewing those and removing this would be kind of a pain in the ass. So I'm not going to do that. I think even if I did move it over, it would be mostly for cosmetic reasons. Maybe if I put the plastic studs as part of this, maybe it would like help secure this more in place so that there's less of a tension on it. But I have no intention of like just removing the power cord in and out of this thing. The only issue with this was that apparently I somehow managed to buy the capacitors that were a little bit too large, so they wouldn't fit next to each other, so I had to like kind of like bend the legs a little bit. Yeah, it's gonna be fine though. So I think in the last video I actually I explained these wrong. So what these are, as you can see here, what this power supply is supposed to output is 5 volts, 9 volts, or minus 9 volts. Now, these two are 9 volts regulators. So one is used to generate the plus 9 volts, one is the minus 9 volts, and this is the 5 volts. And these are just, you feed them alternate current and they just output DC current at the specified voltage. So these are very neat. Actually, I'm not sure what the how many watts these can provide. I hope they are enough output. Okay, so this is like 1100 milliamp, so that's about 11 amp, and 0.4 amp. Okay, well, I hope the 5 volt requirement of these of the FM towns is relatively low, and these are enough to actually like provide what is needed. Because I mean, if these can provide enough of a amperage, I wonder if these or similar devices can just be used to build modern power supply replacements for all of my Japanese PCs, because a lot of them could use a kind of a modern drop-in power supply replacement just to make them less finicky. Some of them are broken right now, and some of them kind of like they're a little bit there are some solutions, but they require something like a Pico PSU, and I don't know, I feel this is a much more elegant solution. Everything is on this. You just drop it in and you have the AC coming in, and you just get the voltages you need. So I wonder if these can be like just designed for the towers as well. I mean, in theory, they should have more or less the same power requirements as the FM Town Marty. Or maybe they are more power hungry because they have some, I don't know, some expansion card slots and other stuff. I don't know if that increases their power hungriness, but I do know that those are probably 12 volts instead of 9 volts. Anywho, so let's drop this into the FM Towns and see if it works. Okay, so let's turn this thing on. As you can see, this is just going directly to a power socket, going to the wall, 220 volts. There is power. The CD is spinning. And there is certainly something on the television. Yeah, I think I will rule that as a success. I'm gonna leave this running for a while just to see if everything's a-okay, and then I'm just going to report back to the designer of the board with a much belated much belated report of success. See you in the next video, guys.